Welcome back, groovy friends. We are going to yet another commune from the early 70s and take a look at some of the food that they put together. I'm really excited about this cookbook in particular because we're going to be looking at the Country Commune Cooking by Lucy Horton. And this is a really cool one because this was published in 1972 and she spent most of 1971 hitchhiking across America and into Canada, going from one commune to another, collecting their recipes and stories that made them unique. She ultimately went to 43 different communes in that year. And let me tell you, the stories and the recipes are really, really interesting. Now, this week, I actually had a lot of trouble trying to figure out what did I want to make because there were a lot of really different, kind of unique things to this cookbook, and I really couldn't figure out what direction did I want to go with this. And so I did something a little bit different. I let my husband Mitch pick the recipe this week. And wow, did he pick a doozy. And he picked it on purpose just because the ingredients are so weird. And he really wanted to see what would it look like and what would it taste like with this combination of ingredients. And when I say weird, I mean we've got beef, we've got tomatoes, we've got corn, which, you know, seems pretty good, right? Except then we devolve into molasses, peanut butter, sesame seeds, and carob powder. So I don't know what's gonna happen with this week's recipe. It could go either way. It could be the greatest thing that we've ever had on the channel, or it could be something that we just tell you, please do not try this at home. So we're gonna go ahead and turn this camera around, get started with this really oddball recipe, and in the voiceover I will share with you the story that goes with this particular recipe and commune, and a few little extras about the cookbook itself. So let's go ahead, get cooking so we can try whatever this is gonna be.
Welcome to the voiceover, and as usual, all the ingredients you'll need and directions for how to make this recipe will be in the description box below. According to Lucy Horton, this recipe comes when she visited The Tribe, a commune nestled in the mountains of southern Colorado. Now, I couldn't find anything on the internet about this particular commune, so I'm assuming they were disbanded a long time ago. But here's what Lucy had to say about the commune in 1972. Although it was only September, a heavy snow had already fallen, but the spirited family of 35, which had gotten together that spring, was sticking to its plan of wintering in teepees. Only one permanent structure had been completed. Despite the raw wind, dinner, spaghetti with 2 sauces, one with meat and one without, had been prepared in an outdoor kitchen and was eaten at an unsheltered table. I thought they were crazy. The commune's energy flow is intricately linked with its rock band, which performs one night a week in a cafe 20 miles away. This recipe was contributed by the band's equipment manager, who had formerly worked for top San Francisco groups like the Grateful Dead and the Jefferson Airplane. Lucy Horton began her odyssey across America and Canada back in 1971 when she was 26 years old. Lucy had long wanted to write a cookbook, and she credits a friend of hers with the actual idea of going to communes to do so. In a Timeline article written in 2017, Lucy says, "My travels went extremely well, amazingly so when I look back on it. I was welcomed everywhere, showered with helpful recipes and given names of more places to go." The article mentions that she visited 43 in all, with names like Bread Loaf, Hog Farm, and Prairie Dog Village. Some were focused simply on self-reliance. Others sold bread or the produce they grew. Milkweed Hill supported itself by a candle-making operation carried out in a geodesic dome. The recipes in Lucy's cookbook vary wildly. There are as many different recipes as there were beliefs in all these different communes. And they pull from all kinds of different culinary traditions and international cuisines. And if you've noticed that there's meat in today's dish, that's because Lucy noted that whether or not a commune ate meat really was based on their geographical location. She notes in the beginning of the meat chapter that if you limited your traveling to the West Coast, you'd probably come away with the impression that meat plays little part in the commune diet. I left California with only a handful of meat recipes. In New Mexico and later New England, however, I was surprised to find vegetarianism more the exception than the rule. She goes on to describe that many of the communes grew their own goats, cows, chickens, and even pigs for meat. Further on, she notes, why this geographical difference? A popular explanation on both coasts is that the rigors of winter in New England and the high country of the Southwest make meat eating necessary for energy. I myself suspect the reason has more to do with spiritual climate. Commune people in California and Oregon seemed more religious and idealistic, less intellectual, political, and profane than their counterparts elsewhere. She goes on to note that the country communes were characteristically gentle and tolerant, but the West Coast has a special quality of intuitive spirituality. Does this come back to the easygoing weather? Or is it because West Coast people have access to so many fine psychedelics? I don't know. At any rate, even meat-eating communes usually have a few vegetarian members and vice versa. It's typical that these loosely structured groups should encompass such different philosophies and settle the problem simply by having two spaghetti sauces, one with meat and one without. She noticed that vegetarianism in many of these communes arose from many different circumstances. Some were vegetarian because of moral reasons, others were afraid of the artificial hormones being put into livestock, and still others were doing it simply to save money. Some were even just seasonal. A commune called Hobbiton in Vancouver said that it's necessary to eat meat in the winter, but not in the summer. I can't feel spiritual when I eat meat. It drags me down to a lower level. Others, like at Wheeler's Ranch in California, took a more pragmatic approach to it. If someone prepares food for you, eat it, they said. And so looking through this cookbook, it's been a lot of fun. Seeing all the diverse ideas that made up commune living and also influenced the food they made. They were spiritual, they were practical, sometimes out of their depth, had failures and successes, but most of all they're remembered for their sincere desire to get back to whole, nourishing, simple and filling foods that fueled both body and mind. And now we'll try to dish up this pie and give it a taste.
So you guys saw me struggling, and some of you probably laughed. I'm looking at you, Mom and Mama. I know you were probably laughing through that whole thing. So making this crust was literally like working with kinetic sand and trying to make a pie crust out of it.
That is weird.
It also smells weird. Not the crust, just the inside.
I don't think it smells bad. Of course, I haven't been in here while you were fixing and cooking it, so I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to okay.
Let's just do it.
Okay.
See how scary this is. It does have a weird smell. I don't know.
I don't know what to... Okay. Let's take one more bite. just to...
I don't know what
so
I tasted.
Confused.
I'm going to get a big bite just so I can tell.
Okay, I'm going to say this. It's not near as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No. Okay, here's my assessment. The crust is horrible.
The crust is terrible.
I didn't get as much crust on the
Look
first
at
bite.
that. You're just eating sand.
It actually feels like you're eating sand when you're eating it.
Yes.
But I think I got more crust than you on the second bite. I got a big chunk of crust on the second bite, and it sucked all the moisture out of my mouth to the extent where I couldn't even get to the food or swallow for a little. Like, it took me a while to build up what necessary components to swallow.
Like me now?
Yeah. Like, it was the crust is ridiculous. Like, you could use... What do you want?
Okay. One of our cats is just trying to... Cat, you don't want this.
No.
Cat, you will not want this, I promise you.
But that being said, I could see like another cornbread crust recipe.
Yes.
Like a cornbread, like a flatbread kind of cornbread.
Yeah, or just a regular pie crust.
Or a regular pie crust, yeah.
The insides
aren't bad.
The insides are actually kind of good.
Like, if you actually had a decent crust in this,
yes.
I think I would enjoy it.
Yeah, with even with the peanut butter and the carob powder and the cinnamon and cloves, it actually kind of comes together.
Yeah, it really does.
So I think they had a good idea with the insides. And now, I will say this. There could be something we're missing. There could be some people who are watching this just screaming at the computer like, no, that's not how you make like a crust with the masa harina. You know what I mean?
Right.
There could be that. Now, I could have Googled it. I could have thought like...
But we shouldn't have to.
Well, see, that's it. Like, I don't ever Google... It's rare, unless it's a recipe from like the 1700s and I like can't figure out the language or whatever, the Old English.
Yeah, or like they're talking about certain measurements that we don't even use anymore.
Exactly. We've had to convert. I'll Google something, but I try really, 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 really hard to never Google something because back in 1972 they did not have Google.
No.
So if you were buying this cookbook, you are making it exactly the way she says to make it.
Right.
And there's nothing else that can help you with that.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so again, I don't know if it's something we did in particular.
There may be knowledge they had about it, or she thought which would have been common knowledge.
Maybe.
That she didn't put in there.
I made it exactly the way she said, and it did.
That's kind of why we use Google sometimes for like early 1900s or late 1800s.
Yeah, something like that.
But that being said, like I said, it would have been fine with the normal crust.
It's the worst crust ever. It's the single worst crust I think I have ever made in my cooking life.
But
you're gonna be eating it.
I almost wonder if you could like add butter or something.
I don't know, but
it's like it didn't even bake together as a cohesive.
No.
It's still just like cornbread flour.
Yeah, no,
corn flour. It's just corn flour.
It never came together.
No.
At any point. Rolling it, mixing it, nothing came together.
Corn flour.
Nothing.
Like, graham cracker crust holds together better than this does.
Yes.
And graham cracker crust is known for being flaky and
yes, but
apart.
this is like, so I'm gonna caveat this particular dish. If you want to make it, do not. I mean, I'm gonna put the direction, like I'm gonna put what I did in the box below, but do not make it with the crust. Make it with the insides, but I don't care if you use a store-bought crust. It will be
better.
1,000 times better than this.
It's almost like it could be a decent pot pie kind of recipe.
Yeah.
But the cornbread crust
yes, it just and like I said, maybe going back to why we don't Google and why we don't try to fix our mistakes within filming, because this is a cookbook review channel.
Right. And
so,
you need to know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I don't want to, if I deviate from the cookbook and go off on my own on a Google spree, this isn't reviewing the cookbook anymore. It's just, I did my own thing.
Right.
So,
I would give this recipe like a 3.
Yeah, I would too.
Because the insides really are good.
Yeah.
I actually wouldn't mind like making it again.
What we're gonna
with an actual pie crust. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't mind that.
No, I wouldn't either.
But that being said, I don't even know if I should give it a 3 for that, because the pie crust ruins it so bad.
I know
that it probably should drop it to a 2.
Yeah, it really should.
Like
I'm kind of I had
it's an interesting surprise.
Yeah.
Like the insides were surprised. Like they were better than I expected.
Yeah, no, the inside, like for the ingredients in there, the insides were way better than I expected.
Yeah.
And I actually like it.
Yeah, I do too.
I think the combo actually does kind of work.
It works.
We're going to have to scrape all the pie crust off of it to get to the insides.
Vacuum clean. No.
I know, seriously, just like vacuum up the crust off of this thing. I don't even know. Okay.
All right.
I'm not going to rate this cookbook yet.
We got one more.
Because I'm giving it another week. I will say it was worth picking up for the snippets you get of the people who were on those 43 different communes that she went to. So you're getting a story in front of every recipe, which is, to me, the main jewel of this cookbook, right? Because
little snippets of time.
Yeah, and she's a good writer. So while you're reading this, you're really, 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 like, you're wanting so bad to look these people up and see what happened with the rest of their lives. Because obviously, the majority of these communes don't exist anymore.
Right.
Where did these people go? You know, what was their life like after? You know, what was it? Did they drift to another commune? Did they, suddenly decide they were done with it and threw their bell bottoms off and joined the corporate world? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what happened to these people in the 1980s and beyond? That's kind of what, you're left with, these really cool windows of what was going on, but you only get a window into one specific moment of each of their lives, and it leaves you really invested in wanting to know more, which I think is really cool. So I'm not mad that I picked this cookbook up. I only paid a few dollars for it.
Mad at the recipe.
I'm just mad at the pie. Yeah, I mean, I don't even. No on the crust. The only way I would say to make this crust is if you Google it and find out if there's kind of like some kind of secret to using that particular flour. Just don't take it straight out of this book.
No.
It's that. So, wow.
Right,
okay.
Yeah. There's a little.
There you go.
Yeah,
It's
whatever it is, it is.
Try the insides, but not the out.
Don't judge a recipe by its shell.
Yeah,
by its crust.
Yeah, dig a little, and you'll get to the good parts. Okay, there you go. Not as complete a disaster as I thought it was going to be. but a fun one.
Yeah.
You know, we learned how not to ever make a pie crust. You can add that into our repertoire there. But we'll look through this and we'll pick something else, and then we'll go
from there.
Yeah, and see if this is a cookbook. We'll talk about if it's worth a pickup for you guys.
Yeah.
You know, so there you go. So thanks for watching this sort of disaster, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully it's better. We'll see you then. Bye.
And if you like historical cooking and unusual cookbooks, here's 2 more videos you might enjoy. And make sure to like and subscribe for more foodie adventures.